Welcome to Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis. Really excited to be here at the BET Awards. It's BET weekend. It's BET weekend and also the BET Experience. And I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Kathleen Bradley. Welcome, young lady.
Hi, and thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. This weekend is full of excitement here in LA Live, down at the Crypto Center and all the theaters and the people walking past back and forth and all the venues and all the food and celebrities. So if you ever come to LA, you must come to LA Live. But to be here on this wonderful weekend with BET Awards, and oh my God, make sure you see it. Hopefully you don't miss it. Because we're going to be on, I don't know when. Maybe before or after.
Well, BT is still very
It's
around.
going to be over by the time you see this. Hopefully you
But it'll
saw
still
it.
be one of the
I'm
reruns
sure
because
it's
you know
gonna be
BT,
good.
they'll be playing it for a
That's
couple
right.
months every
There you
day.
go.
So the kind of party never ends until next year. But yeah, really delighted to be joined by Tasha Funes. If I understand correctly, you are the founder of a small company called Xclusv InFlight. And I just want to say that's an all-black company and private jet company at that. And you've had some very high-end clients and the pleasure of working in the industry for a while. And some of those, if I'm not mistaken, are the Obamas who still fly with you.
That is correct.
Yeah. So talk to us about how that all began, because I know there's some other famous clients, but let's start with just getting that going. I mean, I know you worked in the industry quite a while. It's another thing to own a private jet company.
So I've been doing this for a little bit over 20 years, and I started my company here most recently back in 2020. I was looking to start a company to expand on more minorities, more Black women, Latino women. I wanted to change the narrative. So I said, you know what, let me start a company that can introduce and put these girls in front of other candidates and other clients that may potentially want to book them. And that was the main focus and main goal of when I started Xclusv InFlight.
Sure. Wow.
So you started the flights and you're seeing with these young ladies, they were working the capacity of working on as flight attendants for the first private people who were on the jets and different things of that nature. And you said you started that about 20 years ago.
No, actually, I started becoming a flight attendant about 20 years ago. I started the company in 2020.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you started out that way, becoming a flight attendant.
Yeah.
And thereafter, you introduced other young ladies and women to it, which is I know a friend of mine, his daughter does it. I can't think of her name right now. And I'm sure it's probably quite a close-knit society in terms of having all these private jets and these young ladies and people fly. And you're flying with so many interesting personalities and celebrities and what have you. Who are some of the most kind of exciting people you work with, and how did you perceive them? How they work out on the plane? Tell us a little bit of dirt.
Sure.
Now. Come on, I want to hear everything.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned, the Obamas, I do fly them pretty routine and actively. They came on board the aircraft, and this particular jet that I was flying was an all-black jet. So I had black toilet paper, I had black dishes, I had black everything. My flight crew was in straight art. We're all black as well. So the Obamas came on, and they were like, "Wait, black flight attendant, black jet, black toilet paper, cutlery and things, former black president." He was like, "So plain." I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So then he turned around and asked, he's like, "You know what? I got to get a photo with you." And I'm like, "Say less. Of course you do."
Right, why not?
Catch for a photo with you. That's that grand.
Yeah,
Oh my
so
God.
we took a photo, and it goes through its whole process through its security clearance and everything, and then they finally released it to me.
Oh, wonderful. I did meet him, Obama, once. I was at Martha's Vineyard at the golf course, and he loves to play golf. We were having a lunch, and I know he had started off. We could see down when he was getting ready to tee off up the first hole. And I love to play golf, so I timed it. We were having our lunch, and I said, well, he's going to be at the 10th hole in a minute, which was close. I said, I'm going to go get in line. I went to the 10th hole, right in the men's room. He went to the men's room. He came out, and he said, "Hi, how are you doing?" And met everybody. I said, "Hi,
very gracious.
I'm Kathleen Bradley. I was the first African-American model on The Price is Right. It's one of Barker's beauties." And he said, "You're still gorgeous."
Yes, you are.
Oh, I'm melted. I'm melted. Oh my God. That was one of my highlights, meeting him. Not the only one. I know they are wonderful people.
Absolutely.
Who else have you had on?
I've had a few other people as well. I've been doing this for a very long time, so my resume is pretty colorful. of clients.
Sure.
You're not saying
Well,
anything.
we've learned that one of those is P. Diddy.
Yes.
And just talk to us about sort of your perspectives and things like that. Just even in securing contracts like this, you know, obviously we throw the names around a lot, and here in LA, you run into celebrities everywhere you go. But just walk us through that process and just some of the interactions.
Sure. So with Mr. Combs, I most recently was his flight attendant and been his flight attendant for about 4.5 years. And the way that it works is that the companies reach out to you and kind of vet you through a process and make sure that you align with the principal, which is the actual client. And if everything is successful, that's basically how you become their personal flight attendant. So it's a process and a series of interviews that you have to go through.
Yeah. Is he going to call you when he tries to get out the country?
He shouldn't be calling
I
anybody.
know he should not. I know, I'm just saying. Well, bless his heart. We pray for him.
Sure.
We pray for him.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can only hope that over time things will heal and mend. Talk to us about just sort of putting this together, because that's not an easy thing at all. Not only a company that's Black owned, but also where the product that you're flying is worth, you know, millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions.
So I actually handle as far as like contracting, not so much as the actual jets.
Sure.
So if anyone is looking to hire a flight attendant, I have like a Rolodex of flight attendants that I use as my go-tos that I put in front of these candidates, and that's basically how it's operated.
I bet they're really wonderful people. They're women. Are there any men?
There's women and there's men, and all of them have been personally trained by me to make sure that the standardization is completely the same. I have high expectations for all of my girls and guys when we're offering this type of service to these clients. You know, I just want to make sure that they're meeting the bar.
It's very important too.
Yes.
What are some of the tips that you would have for clients? Because I know sometimes that can be a challenge.
No,
to
of course not.
certainly pay attention to and respect, even though they feel like they're up in the air and anything goes.
Well, I'm pretty firm on setting the standards from the door. If you set the boundaries from the first meeting with your clients, that can set the tone for the remainder of the flight. Don't let someone push over on you. Be firm on how you want to be handled and how you want to be addressed. I'm big on that.
Right. And I guess too, you know, you have to let them know the attendants. Sometimes I think they are overly friendly, and that's, mistaken for something else, flattery, especially when people are flying on that caliber and those private jets, and the attendants know they have money and different things of that nature. But like you said, you have groomed them to a certain level, and it's important for the client to know, even though I'm nice and friendly in the high in the sky and all that stuff, don't,
Not to confuse it.
There's a line to be drawn right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And besides people of color, although we won't name any names, I know that there's some clients you've also signed that one may own a car company or such. But but it sounds like you've also really continued to provide these services to anyone.
Yes, absolutely. I contract now for multiple different clients. I stay booked and busy, as I was telling my PR. Work is not a problem for me, which is also a blessing. But it's pretty cool to be able to have this extensive list of clients that I fly.
Has there been a set of circumstances, and we don't get into names, where you're like, okay, I had to really put an end to that behavior, whether somebody tried to smoke, whatever the case may be, because it could be your license or a serious safety issue?
Actually, there has been a client that will remain nameless because he's in jail now. That was very, very vulgar, to say the least. But karma came back and visited him, and he's where he needs to be.
Right. On that note, one of our people today had spoken about that concept of, do you get a sense sometimes that people may kind of be one way when they're filling out all the application, the vetting process and things like that, but then have a very different, attitude when they feel like, oh, you're here to serve me, literally?
Not really. I mean, I think that they know what they're signing up for, and I don't think that no one comes in with that type of attitude. They know that we're there to do a service for them, so the expectations are met on both sides.
So you were initially working for some of the other bigger airlines and different things of that nature before you took on the private sector?
Yes, I did. I started off with some of the major airlines, Southwest, United, American. I've worked for them all.
Mm.
I have 20 plus years in this industry, and I've kind of just catapulted my career from commercial aviation and worked myself up into charter, and then charter into the government, from the government into corporate.
So
I'm
you
at the
were
top of
working
my
with the government. Wow, I
Wow.
bet that was exciting. Where did you fly out of? What was your hub for the most?
For the most part, it was LA, LAX, and us. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then through those government people, like city officials and different people of those natures, or the governor or something, or did you fly to like Washington D.C. and
Mhm.
that kind of government flying?
It was more so government officials that were flying in and out of the country for foreign affairs.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Very good. Jeez.
So it's about just some of the challenges of actually pulling this off. It's a lot of work, sounds like a lot of logistics and a lot of hours. And how do you get some sleep and self-care?
That's cute. Sleep. What is
Right. What is that's the word.
when I have the chance to kind of just degress, I try my best to, but with this career and with this job, you got to be very flexible and adaptable to kind of just be on the go at any moment. I have a luggage packed in my car. I never know when my clients may need me, so you just got to stay ready.
Yeah, and then you have the time difference from flying overseas and back and forth in Europe and wherever you're going to go, to China or something.
Yeah.
And those kind of places alone, that jet lag can be very brutal.
Yeah.
So you always have to be on point.
Yeah.
What's the craziest or like a longer route that you were asked to do that you weren't expecting? Like, let's say somebody wanted to go to, I don't know how far I could actually travel, but go somewhere for lunch, so to speak, and come back. Because I've had colleagues who've gone to Switzerland for dinner, literally spent time with their family, older family at that, but done that in a weekend. And that's a lot to fly to Switzerland, have dinner, and come back.
There's been some times, not so much as far as the time, but I think more so as the destinations. I've had clients tell me that we're going to Alaska, so I packed winter clothes, right?
Mhm.
And then they're like, change your plans, we're going to Hawaii. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, but you got to stay ready. So you always keep a bathing suit and things like that are always ready.
So where do you plan on just taking your, so you're still flying?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a point right now where you have so much going on and you're going to just kind of retire and just have everybody else do the flying and what have you? Or how do you feel about that?
I do see that in the future, but not the near future. I'm still ready to move.
You
Yeah.
enjoy doing
I
what you
enjoyed
do.
my job. I love what I do.
It's
I
exciting.
love my clients, and it's just very unpredictable.
That's what I like. You don't have the same thing every day going on. You wake up a different place, a different, person you're flying with. It keeps life exciting.
If on that excitement, what do you enjoy the most? Do you feel it's the destination? Do you feel it's being able to see this different side of the artist, help them to relax? Or the person, what element as relates to the business really kind of keeps you going?
Absolutely. Most of everything that you named, actually, being able to offer the services that I do for them, and then visiting all these different locations on someone else's dime is always nice, right? So being able to see different places and visit different things, I enjoy.
You should write a book. Have you thought about it?
I have
You
definitely in the
should
works.
do it. Don't think about it. I wrote a book and it takes a lot of work. It takes, first of all, convincing yourself to do it.
Mhm.
And probably you do have some spare time and downtime talking to your phone. Think about, what you want to write about. You can write something encouraging, even for young women to be doing what you're doing, because so many of them are, like you say, start out with the bigger airlines and stuff and everything. And that's really wonderful, good and cool too. But it's like,
That might be
why
an
go
owner.
to high school when you go straight to college?
Exactly. It's
That
like
kind of thing. They can,
Yeah.
show them how they can do that. They can be trained for what, you're doing without having to deal with all the corporate big airlines and what have you. So
Yeah.
it's a special, I make a book about the airline students, just the private sector. You can write something like, ooh, girl, I'm thinking about about
Look,
all
you gotta go
these
somewhere. Yes.
I know.
books you could write and story, TV, and series and everything with the private plane. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
that's actually what my company basically is all about. So I basically, anyone that's interested in aviation, whether they've been a flight attendant or not before, if they're looking to join the company or they're wanting to come into the aviation world, I help get them to where they need to be. And then any girls and guys that have been in aviation before and they want to transition over into corporate or the executive level or where I am, I also train them for that as well.
That's right.
Awesome. What I know you've gotten a lot of interview requests given all the controversy. What's some of your story? What's your voice that you want to have heard?
It's definitely challenging. I think the most frustrating part is that there's not a lot of women of color in this industry and that there's a lot of expectations that most clients are only wanting a certain type of girl or guy in the cabin. So I think just changing the narrative and, like I said, putting these candidates and these flight attendants in front of them, kind of forcing them at the door. Like, no, you guys need to know they're just as qualified. They're just as excellent and able to do the job successfully as any other.
So size-wise, look-wise, they can obviously, if they want to put in for somebody blonde, 5'8", 5'6", or something, and they do things of that nature. They don't want anybody too heavy walking down the aisles. So I could see where it would be, maybe a kind of on demand or somebody not, they don't want an older person. So do they kind of put in a request for what kind
They
of?
do. Yeah, and that's what we need to change because, that's far along and gone, right? We need to change that. There are some candidates that may not be physically able to do the job, but the color part is where we definitely need to change.
That's kind of difficult, though, in a sense where they're paying all that money to fly. They want to have who they want to have serve them, and I would like this person, that person. So I don't know if that narrative is going to maybe make really a lot of sense when they've got all this money. But you have the stable on people that you can put there. So it's kind of like, I want what I want. I'm paying for it.
Right.
So that's a little tough.
It is.
But don't be mad at them when you go to the bank.
It's an uphill battle, but I'm still fighting the long fight.
Sure. That's good for you.
Good.
Yeah.
Talk to us about some of the secrets or elements that you try to bring across with your staff and in terms of just being courteous and going that extra mile for clients.
Being very attentive to your clients' needs, having to take care of them without them ever having to ask. Being versatile, being adaptable, being flexible, not trying to be a groupie. Because as you mentioned, some flight attendants want to be the friends and take photos and things like that. So I think it's more important just to offer that exclusivity and not be one of those type of client or flight attendants.
A lot of those flights, planes, I guess. What do you fly on? I don't know a lot about them. I know some of the Cessnas or 8-seater, 12-seater, or 4, 5, 6-seater. What does it encompass to have a flight attendant aboard of smaller size plane? What can you, like a 4-seater? Is that possible?
Well, those are kind of like a smaller jets
and stuff.
Yeah, those are smaller jets. The jets that I'm on are mid-size and large-size jets, like Gulfstreams, Falcons, BBJs, which are like, your Southwest Airlines aircraft, the Boeing 737s, but those are completely reconfigured and done a whole different way inside.
Another level.
Yeah.
So, but like the minimum would be maybe a 8-seater you would fly on?
About 10 to 15.
Oh, okay. So, and then they get a little bigger.
Yes.
Have you ever flown like with any of the athletes that have whole teams and different things flying back and forth? You fly with them as well?
I have, and that's not a fun flight because they're always so big and long. So imagine like them falling asleep in the plane and me having to kind of tiptoe in between. So it makes it kind of hard to do that eloquently with heels.
Right, I can understand.
What's a funny story or something that happened once or that you sort of maybe even have a cherished memory of?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a funny story, but I did have a client that would always, and she's a celebrity, but she would always make us breakfast. She wanted to make sure that we were well fed. Yes, and whether we were flying her or her husband, she would always make breakfast for us and muffins and things like that. And just for her to take that extra like attentiveness to make sure that we were good, I thought that was sweet. I was like, wow.
Is that Patty LaBelle by chance? Had some Patty pies. That is sweet. Oh, man.
And then last but not least, we end with like sort of a surprising story, like something that just really, really wowed you, or something incredible happened, good or otherwise?
Surprising. Let's see. There was a client who had a reputation that preceded himself in the industry, and he had been known to be a handful. Would throw his undergarments and underclothes all over the plane, with fuss and cuss at pilots and all this other stuff. So I happened to fly him, and this is when he was much younger. And like I said, it's all about setting the tone, right?
Right.
So I had kind of set the tone with him and was just like, look, you need to straighten your stuff up, guy. Like, you can't be coming on the plane acting like this and, abusing our being disrespectful to our pilots and things like that. At the end of the flight, he was reading the scriptures from the Bible. So I was like, okay. I said, all right, that works.
So there's more in the flight than just the attendants. We're taking it to another level.
I think, yeah.
Literally.
That was that mama in me that came out of
That's
Absolutely.
amazing. That's good. You
Yeah.
seem like you're the perfect person to do the job that you're doing. You are ordained to do this. And I think of the people who have come under you, or that you've tutored or shown or taught, are very fortunate to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, we know you have the best publicist in the business.
I
That's
do.
Ray Benson. And so we're so appreciative to her for helping make this possible. I know you could have done a lot of other interviews, and we appreciate you fitting us in your schedule. Where can we find you, and remind everybody about the name of your company, Xclusv InFlight?
Sure, yeah. You can always visit my website, www.exclusiveinflight.com. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. So any of those places.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.